A number of people have asked me about my wife's psychiatric holds. In other words, she had a 10-day hold in the hospital where they had to watch her 24 hours a day because she had actually overdosed on prescription medication, and they thought it was an attempt at suicide, but it may or may not have been. This is the first time seeing me again. I was married for 25 years, and my wife passed away from alcohol use disorder a little over 4.5 years ago. And again, I go on and tell stories about her life so that we can dissect her life and learn from it, and it helps a lot of families and other alcoholics. We learn from other people's mistakes. She went to 7 rehabs and had 4 DUIs the last 6 years of her life, and she got progressively worse no matter how much we helped her. But there was one episode, and I've gone over it before, where my son and I we were looking at colleges about 500 miles north. I live in Southern California. We were looking up in Santa Cruz in the Bay Area for colleges that he was going to go to the following year. And we were gone from the house for about 5 days, 6 days. And my wife at the time was under house arrest. So she had an ankle bracelet. She was allowed to leave the home, but at the time I thought that the situation was well enough so that the police were monitoring her, so they felt comfortable enough leaving for a few days. Unfortunately, I discovered that was the farthest thing from the truth. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but my son and I came home after 5 days. The police had called me because she hadn't called in, and it was about fourth day in, and then my son and I had to rush home because she wasn't answering her cell phone, and she hadn't checked in with the police. They had been to the house, and she wasn't answering the door, and I was actually afraid that maybe she had died. At the time, I was very, very concerned. So I rushed home. I mean, I was 150 miles at that point. Rushed home that day. We got there. Garage went up. Went in the house, and it was a horror story. I've gone over it before. I mean, there was bottles and cans all over the house, and she was passed out on the couch. Didn't even know we were there. I mean, there's broken bottles, cans. I mean, it looked like something out of Saw. It was very disturbing. And she was sitting on the couch in a plethora of body fluids, let me put it that way. So we got her upstairs. It took, a while for her to sober up. We got her upstairs in the bedroom, and then I left her alone. I spent the next day cleaning up the place, and the following Saturday, that was a Friday night, and the following Saturday, she was in her bedroom the whole time, never came out, but around 7 o'clock that night I decided to go check on her. I was like, what? Because I'd been out that day, and went in the room, and it was a horror scene. And when I walked in the room, it was something I'd never seen before or after. But my wife had taken, I really don't know 100% what she had taken, but she had a number of prescription drugs. I can't even really remember a lot of them, but probably 7 or 8 different, vials of drugs. And she'd probably taken handfuls of medications, maybe a couple hours before that. And she was just, it looked like something out of Exorcist. I mean, she was just like, her arms were going up in the air and her head was hitting the wall, and she was completely out of her mind. So I called 911 immediately. I mean, she was foaming at the mouth, and they came over, immediately, put her on a stretcher, took her away, and they took her to the hospital. And I explained the situation to the paramedics, and then I went into the hospital and explained the situation to the doctors. And then from there, they kept her on a psychiatric hold at the hospital for 10 days. A nurse watched her. I was afraid that she had brain damage. They were able to pump her stomach, whatever she had taken. They were able to get enough of it out. But it was a terrifying scene after she had, been through this process of drinking herself into oblivion the entire week we were gone. And she was on house arrest at the time for her 3rd and 4th DUI. So it had become an absolutely out of control, insane situation. And again, I tell these stories. They're not really about me or my son anymore. These were years ago, and I explain these stories in detail because I know it helps other families. Other families go through this kind of madness. Other alcoholics I do it as a scared straight tactic, because if you're an alcoholic and you realize that you are, whether or not you're in denial, but if you're drinking heavily on a regular basis, I mean, this is the road that you're going down. This is what life is going to be expected. This is what's going to happen. It's not pretty. It's horrible on your family. It's horrible on your loved ones. It's horrible on your body, physically, mentally. It'll break down your organs. I mean, alcohol is a class 1 carcinogen. It's actually listed as a poison. Okay, there are no benefits to alcohol. It's all bad. But the alcohol, on that note, isn't the problem. The problem is, why are you drinking to begin with? And if you're an alcoholic or a family member, these are things that you have to understand. I hope this story has helped. I have many others, but that was the psych hold, one of the biggest ones with them. And again, generally, I go live right around 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Again, we have the Facebook group. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. The link is in my bio. Just go to the link and you can just find it, or go right into the Facebook group. Also, when you're ready to work with me one-on-one, I've helped thousands of alcoholics, and most importantly, I've helped their families. I have a complete coaching program that's designed to help families and obviously the alcoholic in their family. It's a family disease. Set up a breakthrough call. It takes about 45 minutes, and we go over the program. I want people who are ready to change their lives, and I hope that makes sense. And again, thanks for listening.